A black man driving to a city meeting is stopped, mocked, and belittled by a white officer until the mayor herself steps out of a car and calls him boss. What follows is a powerful takedown of racial assumptions and a city's wake-up call. This emotionally charged, real-feeling story is a reminder. You never know who you're dealing with, and power wears every shade. Watch how quiet dignity, backed by real achievement, silences ignorance and rewrites city policy. Tell us in the comments, have you ever been judged before people knew your worth? The sun had just begun to rise over a quiet suburb of Atlanta. Birds chirped. Kids waited for buses. And David Brooks, a 42-year-old black man in a pressed button-down and slacks, sipped his coffee outside the front of his 3-story home. His Tesla was parked neatly in the driveway. His ID badge clipped on his belt read, City of Atlanta, Deputy Director of Infrastructure. David had come from nothing. Born to a single mother in South Georgia, he clawed his way out of poverty with grit and night classes and a work ethic that never failed. Now, he oversaw billion-dollar projects, streets, bridges, public utilities, the very foundation of Atlanta's future. That morning, he was heading to meet the mayor for a ribbon cutting on a downtown renewal project. He adjusted his watch, climbed into the Tesla, and drove off just like any other day, until a white police cruiser tailgated him a few blocks later. Officer Clint Rourke had a reputation. Locals whispered about how quick he was to assume the worst, especially if the driver was black and the car was expensive. David noticed the flashing lights in his mirror. He pulled over calmly. He'd done nothing wrong. Officer Rourke approached with smugness in his step. "Whose car is this?" he asked, no greeting. "Mine," David replied, neutral. Rourke scoffed. "Right. Got a rental for the weekend." "Huh." David raised an eyebrow. "It's my car. Want to see registration?" "No. I want to know where you're going dressed like you're somebody." David blinked. "To meet the mayor." Rourke laughed so hard, he actually leaned on the hood of the Tesla. "You? Meet the mayor? What are you, the driver? Security?" "No," David replied, voice level. "I'm his boss today." That's when Rourke made his fatal mistake. He muttered, "You people always gotta pretend to be more than what you are." David calmly picked up his phone, dialed one number. "Madam Mayor?" "Yes, it's David. I've been pulled over by an officer who seemed confused." 2 minutes later, Rourke's radio crackled. Dispatch called his unit back, urgently. "Return to base. Now, you're holding up the deputy director." The officer's face twisted in confusion. "Deputy what?" The mayor's SUV pulled up right behind them, police escort and all. She stormed out. "David, I'm so sorry," she said, arms open. Rourke looked like he'd seen a ghost. David turned to the officer and handed him a city card. "Next time, check your bias before you check my plates." Officer Clint Rourke stood stiff, shoulders tight, his lips dry. The mayor, a black woman in her early 50s with undeniable presence, stood only inches from him now. Her eyes were fiery with restrained fury. You pulled over the deputy director of infrastructure, laughed in his face, and assumed he was lying based on what exactly? Rourke stammered. I didn't know who he was." The mayor didn't flinch. "That's the problem. You didn't care to know." David Brooks remained composed, hands folded in front of him. Calm, measured, but the damage had been done. Passers-by began recording. A woman nearby whispered to her son, "That's the man building the new bridges downtown. That cop just disrespected him." It was going viral before Rourke even got back in his cruiser. By noon, every major Atlanta news outlet had the story. High-ranking black city official harassed by officer while heading to meet mayor. The footage showed David's quiet dignity. It showed Rourke's arrogance. And most importantly, it showed the mayor's fury. That night, David gave a press statement. Not out of anger, but out of purpose. "What happened to me isn't just about a traffic stop. It's about a mindset that says black success is suspicious, that a luxury car must be stolen, that we don't belong in the rooms we built. I won't let that mindset go unchecked." The city rallied behind him. By week's end, Officer Rourke was placed on administrative leave. An internal review began. Civil rights groups demanded mandatory anti-bias training for all city officers. But David wasn't done. He proposed a new city initiative, the Equity in Service Program, requiring annual community awareness and diversity training for every government employee, top to bottom. It passed unanimously. The mayor made it official policy, and she gave David full credit. A month later, David stood on a stage beneath a banner that read, "A city for all." He spoke not as a victim, but as a builder. "I don't want revenge. I want restoration. And I want young black boys and girls to know, if someone laughs at your ambition, let them, because one day they might be the ones answering to you." The crowd roared. His mother, sitting front row, cried tears of pride. Behind the stage, Officer Rourke, now stripped of his badge, watched quietly, reflecting, regretful. David didn't hate him. He pitied the smallness of his vision, because greatness isn't defined by uniforms, badges, or assumptions. Never underestimate someone based on appearance. Power and purpose where every shade. Prejudice is loud, but dignity, when held firm, can change an entire city. Subscribe for more gripping, true-to-life stories that expose injustice and inspire change.